Hello guys, Nexas here, and welcome back to Destiny 2. And in today's video, guys, we are here going over some more patch notes. And this one, honestly, this will be a lot more interesting than my State of the Game one, because State of the Game was honestly a wet drab. This one will be a lot more interesting though, because this is going over Season 22 in terms of abilities and armor changes. Abilities is the big kicker for me, especially as a PvP player. This will definitely change the game a lot, or it should definitely change the game a lot and everything. But as I said, exotic armor is going to be the first thing that is going to be up. So basically, these are going to be bolstering underused exotics, you can see right here. So any exotics that aren't really having much use in the game, there's a ton, of course, on pretty much every class. Every class is the exotic that nobody uses. So hunters are basically going to get the Knucklehead radar buffed in terms of the functionality of the Foe Tracer exotic helmet has been completely removed from that exotic and added to the Knucklehead radar on top of listing of its existing benefits. So basically, the way of looking at that is that Foe Tracer marks people or tracks them, basically gives a little hunt. So you can kind of see them through walls a little bit, and also when they are red health, you can do extra little bit of damage to them. Honestly, really interesting having Knucklehead radar with this as well, because Knucklehead basically gives you what's called third eye, which is basically your radar stays up indefinitely when you're aiming in. I still don't really see it being an exotic though people are going to use with this buff. I mean, there's just better exotics in the game for PvP and PvE especially. They are going to be buffing Foe Tracer as well, so we took some cues from the popular monochromatic Maestro artifact perk. That's basically if you get like a void ability kill, your void weapons will do like 10% more damage. That's all this perk is. So that's going on to the Foe Tracer. So when you deal damage with one of your abilities, you gain bonus damage, basically what I just said. Additionally, when you defeat an enemy, you've damaged one of your abilities, either with another ability or with a weapon with a damage type matching your subclass, you will spawn one of the collectible objects associated with your subclass, such as ionic traces and fire spites. Honestly, that's pretty interesting. That could actually lead to a lot of different kind of build crafting. So Foe Tracer, honestly, this could be really dope. Monochromatic Maestro already is going to be super sweet for this. I wonder if they're going to lose all what the Foe Tracer used to have because they're throwing it into Knucklehead. But yeah, this is actually really interesting. Monochromatic Maestro obviously is dope, but spawning ionic traces and fire spites just for doing basically work with your subclass and obviously your abilities, honestly could be really good for build crafting. They will also be buffing the Lucky Raspberry, and please Bungie, please don't give me another arc bolt freaking meta. I don't want to get double arc bolted and just insta die like every freaking time. But basically they're saying it's unreliable in the current form, and they're kind of looking at how it streamlines its energy gains. So at the moment it's basically if you get more chains, the more obviously grenade energy you get back. So instead of doing the grenade energy on the chains and everything, what they're going to do is that when someone is jolted, each time you jolt an enemy, you will get grenade energy back, which could be really good, especially if it's a large amount of enemies and everything. And they're also going to give you grenade energy on ionic traces too, which obviously is a big bonus too, which I think is going to go really well. And you can kind of see why they're going to go more toward PvE when they're saying that you could basically just insta-stun champions when you're using the Lucky Raspberry. It's not going to be based off jolting. It's legit just making the grenades insta-stun overload champions, which honestly, that could be good, but there's so many ways to freaking stun a champion. Riptide, anyone? And then the Renewal Grasps as well are getting a buff. They've undone the previous nerf to Dustfield grenade cooldowns when using the exotic. Oh, I mean, PvP wise, it might be good, might be bad. I mean, Renewal Grass or the Dustfield grenades, they're still pretty good, but they obviously did get nerfed. So that's probably why they're buffing this exotic back to what it was. But Dustfields might take the forefront again. Titans are getting a bunch of changes to their exotics as well. So the Icefall Mantle, Doomfang, Path to the Burning Steps, and Eternal Warrior, they got some changes in Season 21 where they added an escalating damage bonus to arc and solar weapons. So now they're just making that change a little bit more reliable, because it was hard to get it to a tier 4, as you see the tier 4 damage bonus. They're making it a bit more reliable, and of course the Path to the Burning Steps, and of course the Eternal Warrior. And also they're going to be adding it to the Doomfang and the Icefall Mantle. Honestly, it's interesting. It could be good for maybe a void build with Doomfang. Icefall Mantle, I still think that's just not going to be really used unless you're going for a tank build, but it's not exactly what I'd say worth it, considering you got to use your overshield in there or your freaking towering barricade and stuff. So the AC/DC fences are getting a buff as well. They're basically completely reworking how the freaking mechanics work on it, because I will say that it can be annoying and sometimes it's super unreliable and everything, but they're changing it now that it ties into the armor charge system. So increasing its versatility and making it so more useful in scenarios where you might be taking a lot of melee damage. With the new perk, which completely replaces the old, when melee hits give you an armor charge, you take reduced melee damage while you have that armor charge. Taking melee damage causes you to emit a burst of damaging arc energy that dulls targets, consuming your armor charge. So honestly, that's actually interesting. That means you can insta-jolt enemies if you just take a bunch of melee damage. That could be dope, especially if everyone's punching you in an area. Jolting PvP is if you basically swanton dive into a group and one guy punches you, you're going to jolt all of them. Hollow Fire Heart is also getting a buff, which honestly, that's pretty surprising to me because I think it's in a really solid spot. But okay, they're saying it's obviously it stands in the shadow of the more ubiquitous Heart of Inmost Light. I can kind of see that when it comes to GMs. Heart of Inmost Light is freaking insane, like the haul. That was insane when you had things like the double grenades and everything like that, the storm grenade buff and everything. Oh my god, this thing was broken with it. But to remedy that, we've removed its base energy to solar abilities and replaced it with a perk that will let you build more into sunspots. We think you'll be seeing many more sunspots on the battlefield as a result. And as for the perk that greatly increased your ability to regenerate when your super is fully charged, we left that as is. You won't know how effective this is though until you actually try it out, so that is going to be next season's type of thing to check out. If there's a ton of sunspots, does that mean that freaking solar titans are going to become more unkillable? Because at the moment, they're basically unkillable. So does that mean they're going to just be freaking legit god tier again? Warlocks are getting some changes though as well, and the Astrokite verse, which is of course our freaking blinky friend, a super dope exotic, but no one really uses blinks, so they're definitely gonna have to buff this. They've added 2 more pieces of functionality to the exotic, so when you blink, the enemies near you when you reappear will be volatile. So if you blink into enemies, you'll volatile them. Oh, that's actually super interesting. You can kind of look at this as being like an Icarus like landing where you just cause volatile, which actually would be really dope. Additionally, when you're using the Nova Warp Super, the Dark Blink ability no longer consumes super energy. Oh, this is going to be huge for movement tech. Oh my god, that's going to be insane because Dark Blink is basically the teleport you do when you have your freaking Nova Warp out. That's going to be insane because some people, I'm telling you, you've never seen a good freaking what's called good guy with a Dark Blink or freaking a good Nova Warp Super blinker, but my good god, they are so fast. GMX stabilizers are also getting a buff, so they obviously know people want you to be able to top off your super, but they know that it's kind of broken when they let people do that, especially in certain plays. You just want to sit back in a corner, you get your super so fast. So basically, they now said that Ionic Traces will give you additional super energy when you're using, of course, the GMX. So honestly, not the worst trade-off. I wouldn't say it's like the biggest buff in the world, though. You're still probably going to just stick on the GMX whenever you need to pop your super so you get that extra damage. The Wings of Sacred Dawn are actually getting a really freaking massive buff. Honestly, this is going to be so good for players who actually love this playstyle, especially PvP. So leading into the Orbital Weapons platform fantasy, we want the players to have a way to stay aloft longer, especially in target-rich PvE environments. Reloading obviously always cancelled it because if you reload and you don't have the artifact on, you just cancel your freaking jump, which was a pain in the ass. So now the exotic will automatically reload solar weapons, including the weapon you are holding from reserves each time you get a kill while aiming down sights. Now, it is a buff, but it's only for solar weapons, so do beware. Don't think you're going to be able to run around, of course, with like a bad juju or freaking Vigilant Swing or something else that's really good up into the air and everything like that. You're not going to be able to spam them out. Winter's God will also be getting a buff, more so for the stasis side of things, because obviously when you're using stasis, you're using Penumbra Blast. You're doing nothing anyway. You can't really kill with it. So they've added a new perk to this one specifically for when you're playing your stasis subclass. Now combatants encased by your Penumbra Blast melee will automatically shatter after a short delay. Oh, well, combatants... That to me tells me it's not going to be really PvP focused. You're not going to be able to do PvP because that would legit be a one-shot super or freaking melee then at range. I don't think that's going to be the case. So combatants usually means just PvE environments. But that is all the exotic reworks we have for, of course, Season 22 that we know of. There might be some things they haven't told us yet. And then there's definitely going to be some they're working on for Season 23. But honestly, so far, I wouldn't say there's anything super excitable. I'd be like, oh my god, it's insane. People who like the Renels in PvP, yep, you'll definitely like that. Lughead Radar could be interesting as well, just for certain playstyles. Hollow Fire PvE is probably going to become an absolute god tier one again, because Titans already are unkillable in the Soda subclass. I think the biggest one is going to be the Astrokite verse. Obviously, Volatile is going to be dope for blinking in PvE. But this Dark Blink and the freaking Nova Bomb no longer consuming super energy with Blink. I'm telling you, movement tech is going to be insane for the top tier PvP players or top tier players in PvE. If you want something to move quickly with, it's going to be insane. Obviously, we're hoping that maybe Blink or freaking what's called Nova Warp gets a buff again. And if it does, I'm telling you, this is going to be insane freaking PvE. Next is going to be, of course, abilities. And you can see this is going to be a ton of stuff here. But this needs it, guys. This for PvP especially. The ability spam has never been higher in Destiny. I think ever. I don't think I've ever had as much ability spam in terms of... I just never really have to use weapons. I legit probably could go flawless as an Arc Titan without using one weapon. You could just freaking melee them or freaking start using knockout and everything. So there is going to be changes, of course, with Season 22. Their basic kind of missions are going to be reduce the uptime and potency of barricade abilities, particularly in high-level PvP activities. So yeah, Trolls 100%. Reduce the potency of Striker Titan in high-level PvP activities, both in neutral game and when supers come up. Man, Titans are getting a freaking beating. Correct this one-size-fits-all nature of Suspend in Combat Sandbox. And rebalance our Strand Fragment suite to bring up some underperforming options and normalize the potency of overperformers. So yeah, as I said, Titans are getting a beating, and you're already going to see what it is right now. So basically, freaking barricades, their ability to close off lanes, and obviously under fire. Barricades are insane, okay? As much as rifts can be annoying and hunter dodge can get them out of freaking dodge, freaking barricades are one of the most frustrating things to come up against because there's just no way to really break them. So what they're going to do instead is they're going to increase the base cooldown of the towering barricade to 70 seconds. That's actually a massive increase. That's a 30% increase to the time. So actually, it doesn't really matter what tier they are. Basically, just add on what the time is now for your barricade to reload and then add on 30% to it. That's what your freaking base cooldown is going to be, or your cooldown is going to be next season. That's actually pretty big. I do think it's a much needed change though. I think it's a massive change. I don't know how it's going to tie into, of course, with other exotics being able to get your barricades back and everything. But it's definitely needed. As I said, these barricades, they're such a menace to, like, especially trolls. All barricades also are going to have their maximum health reduced from 600 to 500. Man, 600 is still freaking insane. 600 damage. Honestly, it should be like probably like 400, I think. I think 400 would be nice. Next up is going to be Striker Titan, which obviously we all know is freaking OP in trials, guys. I know I'm going to get the Titan mains in my freaking comments going, oh, use Titan slow. We never have any shit good. Guys, Titans right now are freaking insane. They legit have everything you need in a subclass plus more with no tags. There's no even negatives to them. They just have freaking OP stuff. Thunder Crash. So they increased the base cooldown of 500 seconds to 556 seconds. 55.6% increase, if my math is right. My math is mathin'. That's actually pretty big. It's legit nearly a minute. So yeah, I don't know if that's gonna really affect the freaking PvE guys too much. It might do, but I think there's so many ways to obviously regen your super. PvE might not do so much. Definitely PvP, this will help out because it was so annoying getting basically a Well of Radiance and getting Thunder Crash right away. The only thing I will say is that this is gonna make Bubble Titan so much harder to beat because bubbles are so freaking fast to get. Unless they've nerfed it somewhere down the line, it's gonna make Bubble Titan freaking trials insane because legit one of your only counters was to Thunder Crash it. They're also gonna reduce knockout as well. Basically, they're reducing the damage bonus versus players from 50 to 30. So no longer will you pretty much get one shot as soon as they're in freaking knockout range. Honestly, could be interesting. I don't know if it's gonna change too much. You might get a few times where they're like 1 HP, but for the most part, if you're using knockout, you're getting the extra melee launch, you're getting the extra speed and everything, so you're probably still going to be fine. I don't think knockout's going to change too much with this change. It just means you're not going to be as reliable at just absolutely blasting someone once you get their shields gone. But that's actually all they've really talked about classes-wise. I think Titans are the only ones who got a nerf. I think the rest of them actually didn't get changed much. Okay, well, that's all for freaking classes. Strand is what they're talking about next. So currently, Suspend is a skeleton key that solves combat problems against all combat types. Are they going to nerf Suspend in PvE? Its current duration heavily steps on the toes of Stasis Freeze, which we want to keep as the highest potency disable in the sandbox. The uptime of suspending atoms doesn't allow for meaningful player decision making when choosing when and where to place a hard disable. To address these problems, we are making the suite of changes across both Suspend and supporting atoms to better carve out a healthier role for Suspend in the sandbox. The base duration of Suspend is being reduced significantly. Ooh, this is... It's gonna be a saucy one. guys, you guys are gonna love this in PvE, huh? So they've reduced the base suspend duration versus non-champion PvE combatants from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. Okay, that's not too bad. 3 seconds isn't the worst. Thread of Continuity now extends this duration from 7 seconds down from 12 seconds. Oh, okay, that's a big change. Reduce base suspend duration versus champion combatants from 8 seconds to 3 seconds? 4 seconds with Thread of Continuity? Okay, that is... Okay, champions are basically going to be... It's not even going to be worth freaking suspending them other than to freaking probably, what's it called? Just like stun them. It's going to be the only reason to suspend. Increase snap damage dealt to suspended boss combatants by 67%. So yeah, that's actually a big change. So no longer will you be able to just Titan barricade, suspend a bunch of champions and leave them for a while, then do the same thing because the cooldowns are so low. You're actually going to have to kill things pretty quick. Thread of Mind is getting some changes as well though. So reduce class energy gain based on the tier of the defeated target. Minor combatants reduced from 15% to 10%. Major combatants and players reduced from 25% to 15%. Boss champions and mini bosses reduced from 50% to 25%. All right, that's getting a big ass change. So this is what actually made, as I said, those Titan barricades suspending enemies super easy, because all you did was you just spam the barricade suspend, kills like some of the minor enemies, get your barricade pretty much back, and then go again. That's how you could keep on like just farming the ads and everything. This is a massive change, especially with these cooldown settings. Shredder generation is going to get a few changes too. So reduce the overall energy gain per damage event against PvE enemies by about 20%. Okay, that's a massive change as well. Rebalance the energy gain multiplier across primary weapon archetypes. They wanted to bring the energy gains from dealing damage to precision weapons and fully automatic weapons closer together. So basically, they wanted hand cannons to get pretty much the same sort of energy that, of course, an auto rifle will get, because at the moment, SMGs, auto rifles, they'll get a ton more energy with this with this artifact as well, because obviously you're hitting more hits, and it was based off hits, not really damage. So in combination with these changes to Suspend, they wanted to shift more potency to the other one. So obviously there's going to be Treadlings, Tango, Sever, and all that sort of stuff. So Treadlings now increase treadling damage from PvE combatants by 30%. Massive, actually, especially as a Broodweaver Warlock. That's going to be super fun to kind of go in with. Tangos now reduce tango creation cooldown from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. That's actually big too, because it was super annoying to run a build and have to rely on this freaking cooldown to be over before you kind of like spam the tangos out. 12 seconds is still a large time though. I would love if it was like 5 or 6 seconds, because then you could spam the tangos out. Sever as well. PvE combatants affected by Sever now have their outgoing damage reduced by 40% versus 30%. I will say for me, this was never really a big factor in why I choose to use Sever. Sever was just fun to use because obviously you did some damage with the Sever. Okay, so there actually is some things happening to certain classes. So Still Strike, which is obviously the Hunter Super, that is getting its damage resistance increased from 40% to 45%. You know, not really going to change much, to be honest. 5% isn't that much of a difference, but it will make it a little bit more reliable. Reduce suppression time between Silk Strike Super air attacks, meaning that you can jump in the air and actually spam the attacks out a little bit. And reduce vertical lift provided by Silk Strike heavy air attack to reduce instances of missing the primary target. Honestly, I will say Silk Strike is fun, but it can be super unreliable, so these changes aren't that big a deal. It won't make I don't think it'll make it anything broken. And they're also going to be buffing the Threaded Spectre, which honestly, with certain PvP builds, it can be really, really freaking dope. So increase Threaded Spectre lifetime from 10 to 12 seconds. If you don't know what this is, by the way, this is basically an aspect that when you dodge, you leave a clone hanging out. Increase Threaded Spectre health versus PvE combatants. That's actually pretty good, because then it can actually tank a few shots before it blows. Threaded Spectre now takes longer to detect nearby PvE combatants at the beginning of its lifetime. PvE combatants now more consistently focus on Threaded Spectre instead of the Hunter. Allied players no longer have reticle magnetism toward the Threaded Spectre. I've actually never felt this, but I think that's more of a console issue. Next, of course, is going to be the Warlocks, the Wanderer aspect. Basically, this is the one where you can pick up tangos and suspend them, enemies with them by chucking them. But so now the Wanderer instead is going to have the additional effect of destroying a tango now creates a delayed suspending detonation. Increase suspend detonation radius from 6 to 7 meters against PvE combatants, and increase Throne Wanderer tangle detonation damage to match standard tangle detonation. So with the suspension changes coming, it may be too late for this to become viable or whatever. But it just means that you don't have to run out into the open to try to get a tangle to throw. You're going to shoot it from where you are. And if you have an artifact mod that actually kind of goes in with destroying or like exploding these tangles, it could actually be really good. And the last thing that we'll talk about Strand is that while shifting some of the power of Suspend to other Strand atoms, we took the opportunity to make some of the Strand fragments that correspond to Treadlings and several more attractive picks. So now the Thread of Propagation now grants plus 10 strength. The Thread of Continuity no longer grants 10 strength. Okay, that's a big change, especially with all the nerfs it's already gotten. Thread of Wisdom no longer requires a precision kill to activate. Oh, that's actually pretty freaking sick. I know that suspension has actually got nerfed, but the Thread of Wisdom, basically, if you kill a suspended target, you can generate an orb of course power. Obviously, you used that to be a precision kill, but now it won't have to be a precision kill, so you can just spam a guy suspended, get yourself an orb, get your surges going. Actually a really nice buff. Thread of Isolation, reduce the number of precision hits required to activate by an average of about 30%, varies by weapon archetype. Honestly, not the worst. Just a nice little buff. I don't know if it'll make it more usable, but with Sever getting its buff and everything, it might make it a little bit better. Thread of Rebirth is the last one. The number of created Treadlings now increases based on the tier of the defeated target. Mighty Combatants 1, Elite Combatants or Players 2, Boss Champions or Midi Boss Combatants 3. Honestly, pretty cool. I wonder what it's going to be like PvP. That could actually be really dope for a good, of course, Treadling build. That could be really interesting. I still will say Treadlings are one of the most inconsistent things ever, though. Sometimes they just completely whiff. But yeah, that is going to be it, of course, for the whole article. This is some of the changes they did say. This isn't all of them. There will be some more, of course, for launch day, and you'll probably see them more closer to, of course, season 22. But I will say overall, it's actually not some bad changes. I do think that they are some nice ones. I think the Strand changes, they did nerf it a lot PvE-wise. But I think it's to give Stasis more of a run-in terms of being another like viable option. PvE, I know though, people are going to be pissed at a lot. A lot of the Strand builds aren't going to be as effective. They're still going to work though. That's the thing. They haven't completely gutted them. they're still going to work somewhat. It's just not going to be as effective. So don't get your pitchforks out right now and be like, oh my god, Bungie, you've ruined my subclass, ruined Strand completely. It's still going to be good. It's just not going to be as effective. And it honestly has opened up a couple more builds you can start making. So treadling builds could be a lot more interesting to kind of go in with, obviously stevering and everything. But a lot of this is definitely going to be kind of a wait and see to see what they're actually like. I mean, you can make some conjunctions with, as I said, the Strand nerfs and a couple of the exotic changes and everything, but you won't see how bad things are or how good things are once the changes actually happen. So guys, don't get the pitchforks out yet. There's nothing too bad about this freaking article, and there's nothing I'm saying that's blowing me away or anything. Bar, of course, I'm down for a freaking nerf to Titan barricades, so I don't mind that. That's the best thing for me. Nerf Titans. Yep, we go for it, boys. I used to be a Titan main. Nerf them, I don't care. But yeah, overall, way better than the state of the game article, boys. This is actually an article where it's like, oh, you can kind of understand what they're getting at, and you can kind of understand why they're doing the changes. And again, guys, I don't generally do these types of videos and everything, but I've kind of started wanting to kind of do kind of more opinion voices and articles and stuff they release. So if you do enjoy the video, let me know in the comments below, or else show us a like, of course. But do definitely let me know if you want to see more types of these sorts of videos. But regardless, if you like the video, show us a like. And if you want to see more content, subscribe. Fantastic day. And hopefully I'll see the next collective in the next one.